And next, we're going to be speaking with Astrid Stuckelberger. She's an international health science expert, also conducting research and epidemiological studies in science for policymakers. She's working alongside the United Nations, the European Commission, governments, and also the corporate and private sector. And she's also been 25 years as a member of the Faculty of Medicine at the University of Geneva and Lausanne in Switzerland. She's also published 12 books and contributed to several books and publications for the WHO, but also papers and books for the EU and also UN reports. And she's hopefully going to give us a brief overview of the role in which these institutions that I've just mentioned are playing in this crisis, specifically the WHO, but not limited to that. But with that, I want to welcome Astrid Stuckelberger. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you for inviting me. Yeah, I would be very happy to take two of the topics that cross everybody's statement. And the first one is on ethics, the science of ethics in a research. I've been privileged to do international research, also population health research, which is going on now, and also clinical research. And I participated to something called the case book of ethical issues in international research from WHO. And I was author, but on second page, and funded it with the University of Geneva. So that's the first part. And then I will link that with the WHO and the International Health Regulation. I like my books, it's my PowerPoint. And this is actually very important for lawyers. I have talked already with Philippe about it and with Rainer Filmisch. This is an obligation for national states and member states to obey to this national security law for a peaceful world. So I'll talk about that later. First, I want to come to and support what Meryl said now, and what I can see now as, on a public health level, but also as that clinical level, like Meryl showed, we are seeing, and it is proven, we have evidence, it's a systematic scientific fraud and breach on ethics. Because in fact, normally a research always has ethics, and science is governed by ethics, like the Convention of Oviedo, of biomedical issues of Oviedo, or the Declaration of Helsinki, or Belmont, or the Code of Nuremberg, which is also a bioethic command, very important document. So when you look at it very quickly, there are two ways to see it. First is to go systematically from what happened as a pandemic expert epidemiologist. I worked for 4 years with WHO on pandemic preparedness plan. And I can tell you, so if I take my graphic in my head, first fraud, we never found the case zero. Normally, when you start an epidemic, you want to know where it started exactly. Was it a pig in a farm and a child died and it is there? Is it a monkey here? Is it a pangolin in the market of China, which they tried to make us believe? We never found the case zero. We think it is in 2019, but we don't know. It was even in the military Olympic Games in Wuhan already detected. That's number one. Second, isolation of the agent. Detection, isolation of what is causing a disease. And for that, you have to do the postulate of Koch, and this is known by everybody. You should isolate, purify the virus if it is a virus, and you should see if this virus creates exactly the same symptoms each time you put it back. Every country should do it. It might not be the same, et cetera, et cetera. But in IHR, in the WHO, there are 4 types of agent that can cause diseases. One is infection, and that's what we all think, but we're not sure because the virus has never been isolated, and some people even question it is a virus. And I'm coming to that. The second is a foodborne disease. The third is a chemical agent. For chemical agent, doctors are not competent enough. They need to go and get experts. And in WHO, there was Gutschmidt. He was the expert on chemical hazards, and I was inviting him in my sessions on the summer school of the University of Geneva on epidemics. And the fourth one is radionuclear, and you need experts on radiation. and the experts are in the International Energy Atomic Agency. And nobody has studied that. And now people are suspecting and have found some radiation. Others have found graphene, metal, and this in the vaccine. So you see what I mean? If you look at something very carefully, you go and look at every hazard, everything, and you look at it carefully. So we go down. No isolation of the virus. So how do we know what we're measuring? A test. Who has done this test? Has anybody validated this? Where does it come from? Is it really a test? And that was the first case that Rainer Filmisch attacked. He said their PCR is not valid. True. Nobody has validated it internationally. It is only a research device. It is absolutely not a diagnosis test that we use in any, even it has been confronted with HIV. So now you see down, you go down the fraud. The PCR has allowed all the measures to go on in the world and to say, statistically, fraud in statistics, that we have cases and the cases are disease or are contagious people that are healthy but contagious. So again, a fraud. And then WHO has taken this together and has declared an emergency, a public health emergency of international concern under IHR. So this is already the first part of the fraud, but it's not finished, because under international health regulation, you normally, like in SARS-CoV-1, there were 26 countries were touched. It took 8 months. There were 700 deaths and 8,000 sick people, and it was over. And they said, it's over, it's over. So you never go with the pandemic for ages. You always look at the curve. There is no death. It's not serious. It is not unknown. It is a threat to international trade, and never this should happen under IHR. And it should never happen that you close down everything. So what we're seeing is exactly the opposite of this international health regulation. Not only the scientific fraud, but I'm clicking it with the international health regulation because they have used the ignorance of people on research and on ethics of research and have put it together, changed words, changed definitions, and now I'm getting on the conceptual level. They have changed definition of pandemic. Normally you should not even use it. They said any disease that crosses the border, when normally it is an unusual disease that happens with a high rate of death or sick people of that disease, exactly that one. And you have to have for that autopsies, and autopsies have been forbidden. So you see that the definition of pandemic was done with absolutely no reason. There is no, I don't know how they managed to get to these changes of definition, and that's just one of them. The second one is the immunity, that you forget natural immunity and you only have herd immunity, and you change herd immunity. There is no memory. You just go and say the only memory is vaccination. Okay, you know that maybe all, and it was mentioned here. So when they change definitions of health workers, a doctor is not, doesn't matter anymore. It's a health worker, so everybody can do the vaccination experimentally. So the procedures changed also, because when you change the definition, you can change the procedure, and then you can change the control and quality control. And this is where everything went wrong. This PCR test, even in labs, has to be done each time. I question them, and they have not done the quality control on the device, and it is limited. You cannot control anything. You don't see any bacteria, anything. So to go quickly on this fraud, the words are also very important because they use the word emergency all the time. There is no emergency, and they keep on. Which police can help to say, stop? You know, when somebody lies in a family, you just tell them, stop lying. But in the United Nations, when a WHO uses the word emergency every day and panic and make fear, which is against the international, you should not create fear. Even in Switzerland, it is a criminal law if you make fear. Article 253, I even know it by heart. If you make fear, you're a criminal. You cannot, for no reason, make fear. So the statistics are wrong, the diseases are wrong, and now they admit there was no more deaths in 2020 than the other years, even in the Hospital of Geneva. So now we come to the fraud with the UN. The UN, so international health regulation was done after the SARS-CoV-1 on 2003, 2004. at that point, Switzerland had joined the United Nations. And what happened then is that this IHR became the cursor, the backbone of everything that's going on now. And it has gone to the extent that Gavi, the Global Alliance of Vaccine, Alliance and Immunization, they changed his name a few times, has entered into force at the moment where we were teaching the implementation of this international health regulation and took over the agenda of vaccine. And this is unprecedented in WHO. Never. I've been working there in and on, with ethics, with aging, with pandemic, and I never understood that there was so much push as from the moment when Gavi joined the UN as an international organization and under a special Swiss Act host of 2009, special status given to an international organization, Gavi, first one. Now, all his friends came into it, and now they have just built in 2018, inaugurated by the Swiss Confederation, and I'm sure Philip can say something about it, a global health campus with a huge building, secured like a police, like a bank. And through this agreement, nobody can come in. If there is a dead body in the cupboard, nobody can come in. They cannot take their computer. The police cannot get in the building. They can have diplomatic, carriage, suitcase, take anything in their suitcase, free organs, I don't know what. It's really terrible to see that. So if you see that IHR has become, and WHO became the game of Gavi, that they made a global plan of action from 2012 to 2020 under the World Health Assembly, and that what they are doing now, that triggered every country in the world under authorization, and the federation or the heads of state were the only one competent to deal with that. I think they have managed to put that together, at least in Switzerland and many other countries like Quebec, where I also help. So this is a very important, because how can you obligate a vaccine that is an experiment and a research? There is a breach between research, ethics, and the authorization. Nobody looked at that. Total conflict of interest. They had not respect. Data privacy, totally breaching that. Methodology, totally biased. Informed consent, completely fraudulent. It's forced, it's harassment, it's extortion of consent. In a research, you never do that. And finally, it is actually a bioweapon. That is Dr. Merrill from the military of US has said the word, because it is forced in such a manner that we are now analyzing through electronic microscopes and many 10 different microscopes. There is something in there that's not acceptable and has not been disclosed. So the last thing I want to say is that under this, what is happening, and I ask lawyers to take care of this, because now we're reaching an international level where it has to stop from the top down. But who is going to stop them? Well, now there is an excuse to stop them. There is this guide, guide of pandemic treaty, was discussed last week in WHO, or 10 days ago, the 75th World Assembly of WHO, normally in May, and it's an extraordinary World Health Assembly. And in that, they want to do a treaty where the constitution of WHO, because out of all the agencies of the United Nations, I think WHO is the only one to have a constitution of 1948. And the Article 3921 is putting together the fact that member states belong to the constitution. And this is where I see a plan that can maybe be dismantled. This member state status is no longer a member state. Switzerland is registered as a corporation and enterprise at the European Union since 1993, and secondly in 2014, like every state in the world, I think. I have looked, and there are many member states. So WHO with this treaty is deciding that the WHO constitution will have Gavi and his friends and any other type of people who can take and handle a pandemic, and the member states which lose their constitution because WHO has a constitution. I'm doing it short because I asked lawyers to go and see the last articles of this horrible paper. But this is where we are today, and I'm very passionate to be with lawyers and help to make. I have made 4 reports with data, really with complete scientific reference on what I'm saying. So that's where I am. So we have a lot of work, but I feel that it is very weak what they're doing, and we have to stop them now. And Russia, or an NGO in Russia, has said we don't agree with this treaty, because between the treaty and the ratification, we have time to say stop. Once the ratification is done, they are planning on August, we can say stop. We have to say stop. Okay, that's my emergency word.
Thank you very much, Astrid. We really appreciate your contribution there. Astrid Stuckelberger, you can also check out her work as well on the various platforms where she's talking and contributing. Look, in the interest of time, we were going to have a roundtable discussion, but we've gone over our allocation. So I just want to give everybody, if you could just give me 1 or just 2 minutes, very brief. I want to go through our speakers who have stayed on for this session, just to give us what you think are what is your highest priority right now in terms of what you're working on and what you want to achieve. And first, I want to go to Renata first, and if you could just share that with us, and do keep it brief in the interest of time, but go ahead. You want to unmute, I believe. There you go.
We as lawyers have to inform, and give measures directly to the citizens in order that they can help themselves, because we aren't able, as we're a small number of lawyers, to help everybody with proceedings. And as my dear colleague Philip said, the consciousness of the citizens has to increase rapidly, because only if a larger number of citizens will become active, we are able to stop this. And I see a crucial role in this, especially also for us lawyers. And of course, I hope that also a lot of judges will wake up and will be aware of their very great responsibility who they have, and they have now to act right now. Afterwards, it will be too late.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much, Renata. We really appreciate that. And over to Philip. Philip, your final words on what you think is the area that you're focusing on. What is the highest priority right now? Oh, each one to unmute first, please. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for this final opportunity, and thank you also for Renata for her words, which I completely agree. This is also one of my first priorities already for quite a while, to inform people and to empower citizens. In addition, also, we try also to directly, or as lawyers, we should try to use our trials as a platform to inform the public. And we might also think of using maybe even more aggressive ways of reaching the public. And here I'm talking about, if we really see people using tools of malfeasance, like speaking in public, things like it is because of the unvaccinated that now the vaccinated people are dying, then I must say, I feel the call to actually file a criminal suit against these politicians and say, look, you are doing a lot of harm to the society. If we continue to go down this road, we will end up in civil war, because there are people who literally think that the unvaccinated people kill literally the others. So I think we have really to start using also more sharp weapons, legal weapons. And yeah, also then finally go after the bigger organizations, which so far I was only able to follow in theory from experts like Astrid Strickelberger, who have done such a great work of research. And I really feel the need to go after these criminals in these international organizations, because Switzerland shall never be a platform for criminal organizations. This is not in line with our constitution.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Philip Cruz. And Meryl Nass, your final words on this and any other issues that you wanted to nail into place at the end of this session.
Well, I think the ultimate battle right now is between freedom and totalitarianism. And all the words that people throw around, right, left, Marxist, socialist, libertarian, really don't have that much meaning. The ways they were used previously, that is not relevant to this battle. I think people from all different belief systems can come together, and we need to come together and realize that what divided us before is meaningless. We're fighting an existential battle for freedom of the human race. And that's what we need to be talking about, and leave these other terms behind, and realize that, the other people in the world are our brothers and sisters, except for a very tiny minority. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Meryl. Thank you. And finally, if you could share your final thoughts. I know you just spoke just a few minutes ago, Astrid, but just briefly, what is in your mind the number one priority, the number one focus for you right now?
Save more children, save more families, and also, like Philippe said, to bring peace, because I can see the fight at Christmas can happen. And I call for, those who are falling because they have been vaccinated we have to have compassion for each other, and we're all in the same boat together against one enemy. We're not enemies of each other. So that's very important. And save children. Don't touch children, like Mary Holland said.
Thank you very much. Yeah, Mary unfortunately couldn't stay on for the duration of this session, but of course we can point to Children's Health Defense. She's written some excellent articles, and she's doing some incredible work there as well. And I just want to also thank everybody who's contributed to this session, Renata Holseisen and Philip Cruz, Dr. Meryl Nass, and Astrid Stockelberger. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for this third session. We appreciate your contributions for this and the work you're doing going forward.